The top stories tonight in Y News. Finance Secretary Benjamin Diokno says the Philippines' tax system must be preserved, but added that the country's economic managers will continue to review it. The National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council remarks that the worst seems to be over as Typhoon Betty continues to move outside the Philippine area of responsibility. A Senate panel wraps up its proceedings on the historic 6.7 billion peso Shabu haul in Manila last year. And Russia damages Ukraine's target in new wave of airstrikes. Philippines and the world. Today is Tuesday, the 30th of May, 2023. Join us in the next hour as we deliver today's top stories around the Philippines and in other parts of the world. We are also seen in 1,935 satellite monitoring centers nationwide and via live streaming worldwide through the UNTV News and Rescue social media channels. I am William Theo. First in the news. Members of the Philippine National Police in Ilocos Norte have inspected the beaches to ensure that no tourists swam in the sea and no fishermen went fishing due to the big waves caused by Typhoon Betty. According to Police Colonel Julius Suriden, the provincial director of the Philippine National Police in Ilocos Norte, their target is zero casualty during storms and bad weather just like this. Mayor Rafi Benemerito III of Pagudpud, Ilocos Norte, expressed that this situation has a significant impact on their economy. Mang Clemente has not been able to fish for 3 days because the waves in the sea are strong. His concern is that if this situation continues for a longer period, they will have nothing to eat. According to the authorities, 12 families equivalent to 40 individuals have been evacuated in Bangi, Ilocos Norte.
Kaya nga yung MDRMO natin at saka Chief of Police, nagtatandem yan in partnership sa mga barangay officials. Nagche-check sila ng attendance actually sa mga fishermen natin para siguraduhin na wala talagang pumalaot. And then yun din, ganun din sa mga resort owners na organize naman na nila.
Based on the report of the National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council, more than 11,000 people were affected by Typhoon Betty. From Santa Ana, Cagayan, JP Nunez will give us the details live. Good evening, JP. Go ahead.
Good evening, William. Despite Typhoon Betty not making landfall in the country, there are more than 11,000 people were still affected in different regions. According to the report of the National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council or NDRRMC, affected individuals or families were reported from Cagayan Valley, Central Luzon, Western and Central Visayas, and Mimaropa. Within those areas, some were preemptively evacuated while others were displaced. The NDRRMC remarks that the worst seems to be over as Typhoon Betty continues to move outside the Philippine area of responsibility. In Santa Ana, Cagayan, 140 families were evacuated as gustiness of winds and torrential rains were experienced since yesterday. However, in the morning, they were allowed to return to their houses as good weather conditions were seen. The Municipal Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Office of Santa Ana will not conduct forced evacuation as Typhoon Betty is expected to exit the Philippine area of responsibility.
Nakita naman po natin na medyo papalayo na po siya, si Typhoon Betty. Siguro as per assessment lang, hindi na po muna kailangan ng forced evacuation po.
Meanwhile, those residents who return to their houses have plans to return to evacuation sites this evening to seek shelter while Typhoon Betty still brings strong winds and occasional rains.
Matakot kami na alon, sir. Kasi lumalampas sa tubing dagat yung alon kung minsan. Baka babalik din kami mamayang hapon, sir.
Talaga sa alon. Babalik kami doon, sir, sa evacuation center.
Bakit?
Matakot nga kami, sir.
According to the monitoring of the Office of the Civil Defense or OCD, no casualties were recorded as of May 30, 2023 due to Typhoon Betty.
Opo, yan po ang magandang balita po natin dahil wala po tayong reported casualties either sa mga namatay po or injured or mga nawawala po, no?
William, based on the latest weather report of the State Weather Bureau Pag-asa as of 5 p.m. today, the municipality of Santa Ana here in Cagayan has been downgraded to signal number 1. That is our latest live here in Santa Ana, Cagayan. Back to you, William.
Yes, thank you, JP Nunez, reporting live from Santa Ana, Cagayan. The Metropolitan Waterworks and Sewerage System, or MWSS, has recommended the water allocation for Metro Manila to be retained for the next month. The National Water Resources Board has approved an allocation of 52 cubic meters per second, or CMS, for May. MWSS stated that this allocation would ensure that widespread water service interruptions are avoided. MWSS noted that when water supply was privatized, there were only 6 million customers compared to the current demand from 20 million customers, including those residing in nearby provinces.
Nagkakaroon po ngayon ng problem dito sa may part ng South, especially yung mga areas na sinusuplayan ng Laguna Lake. So, kaya po tayo nagre-request ng additional allocation kasi po, yun nga po yung pangako natin sa NWRB na wala na pong makaka-experience ng water interruptions.
Based on the projection of Pag-asa, the water level of Angat Dam by the end of June would not go down to 180 meters, which is less than the normal operating level. By July, it is expected to increase due to expected rainfall in rainy season. Pag-asa noted that Angat Dam should reach 212-meter level before the year end in preparation for the impact of El Niño. In other news, Department of Finance Secretary Benjamin Diokno said that the Philippines' tax system must be preserved, but he added that the country's economic managers will continue to review it. Nel Maribohok will tell us why.
The current tax system in the country was discussed in a sectoral meeting in Malacanang with President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. According to Finance Secretary Benjamin Diokno, the President asked them to continue to look into it as there is also a need to balance the system.
Kasi alam mo, binabalansin namin Meron kasi tayong tinatawag na fiscal program na hanggang 2028. And right now, maraming demands on the spending side. No? So, kung mamimigay ka ng mga incentives, mawawala ka ng collection. So, we are studying it. It's not a perfect system, so we'll look for improvements. But right now, our revenue system is doing well.
Despite this, Finance Chief said the Marcos administration is keen on preserving its existing tax system.
So because we really want to maintain fiscal discipline and we want to consolidate until 2028, there's reason to believe that we need to preserve the existing tax system.
The DOF Secretary pointed out that the current tax system, which the Marcos administration inherited from the Duterte regime, is much better than what former President Rodrigo Duterte inherited from the administration of former Chief Executive Benigno Aquino III. Meanwhile, Secretary Diokno said they are working with the International Monetary Fund or IMF for the conduct of a study aimed at addressing the low value-added tax efficiency in the country. He added that although the Philippines has the highest value-added tax rate compared compared to other countries, the country's VAT collection is the most inefficient at only 40% as a result of many exemptions. Nel Maribuhok, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
Meanwhile, several detainees at the National Bureau of Investigation or NBI main office in Manila will be transferred to the Bureau of Corrections or Bucor in Muntinlupa City. NBI Public Information Chief Nick Suarez said that currently there are 197 detainees at the NBI detention facility. When the demolition of the old NBI headquarters begin, the detainees will be temporarily transferred to the Bucor but in a separate facility. Early this morning, NBI officials led the groundbreaking of the new NBI main office with a total budget of 2.5 billion pesos, including the site development. The panel of prosecutors from the Department of Justice, or DOJ, filed a motion for reconsideration in regarding the acquittal of former Senator Laila de Lima in her second drug case. Dante Amento tells us why.
In a 91-page motion for reconsideration filed by the panel of prosecutors of the Department of Justice or DOJ, the panel urged the Muntinlupa Regional Trial Court or RTC Branch 256 to reconsider its decision made on May 12, 2023, which acquitted former Senator Laila de Lima in her second drug case. The case alleged that she accepted drug money from the illegal drug trade inside the New Bilibid Prison or NBP. The prosecution requested the court to issue a new ruling and find de Lima and her former driver bodyguard, Ronnie Dayan, guilty of the crime. The panel argued that the court erred by giving too much weight to the recantation of witness former National Bureau of Investigation or NBI Deputy Director General Rafael Ragos, who changed his original testimony against de Lima. The Supreme Court consistently held that recantations of testimonies are viewed with suspicion and are rarely given much weight. Ragos, in his original statements given during the House of Representatives, Senate hearings, and court proceedings, extensively testified that he handed a total of 10 million pesos of drug money to Dayan and de Lima in 2012. The testimony of Ragos was corroborated or supported by other witnesses' testimonies. Meanwhile, de Lima's lawyer, Attorney Bonnie Tacardon, stated that they are still reviewing the DOJ's motion for reconsideration. The court has yet to take action on the motion. Dante Amento, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
And for our news abroad, Ukraine's air bases have been hit by a new wave of overnight airstrikes from Russia. Annie Reyes Mancilia will give us the details live. Annie, good evening.
Good evening, Kathy. Both sides in the war are seeking the upper hand, with Ukrainian forces shelling industrial facilities in Russia while it recovers from yesterday's airstrikes. Work is reported to be underway to restore a runway that has been hit in Ukraine, with 5 aircraft taken out of service in the western region of Klemensky. The Office of the Regional Governor further stated that fires in storage facilities for fuel, lubricants, and munitions are being contained. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky praised the Patriot anti-missile defenses supplied by the United States, which help ensure a 100% in interception rate of the Russian missiles. Back to you, Kathy.
Annie, what is the impact on Ukraine after the recent move of Russia?
Kathy, the latest move by Russia marks the 16th time Ukraine's capital Kyiv has come under attack this month, although most of the drones and missiles fired overnight have been destroyed before targets could be hit. Kathy?
Thank you, Annie Reyes Mancilia, reporting live from Singapore. We'll share more global stories with you later, but for now, back to you, William.
Yes, thank you, Kathy. For those watching our live streaming on YouTube, please click the subscribe button you see on your screen and ring the bell for notification. You may also follow us on Facebook. Senator Robin Padilla resigns as the executive vice president of the former ruling party Partido Demokratiko Pilipino Lakas ng Bayan or PDP Laban. The neophyte senator says this is to ensure that he can concentrate on fulfilling his duties as a legislator. However, Padilla clarifies he will remain an active member of the party. The party has yet to release an official statement on the matter. His colleague, Senator Ronald Dela Rosa, says he respects the decision of his party mate.
Well, he explained to us yesterday, kaming dalawa ni Senator Bongo. Nagulat nga kami. Nagulat kami ni Senator Bongo na yun palang decision niya. But then, we respect his decision.
Meanwhile, a Senate panel has wrapped up its proceedings on the historic 6.7 billion peso Shabu haul in Manila last year. However, its source remains a mystery. Harleen Delgado will tell us why.
Senator Ronald Bato Dela Rosa appeals to an alleged drug lord to surface to get to the bottom of the controversial 990-kilogram Shabu raid in Manila in October last year, worth 6.7 billion pesos. This as the Senate Committee on Public Order and Dangerous Drugs adjourns its inquiry on Tuesday, May 30, without knowing the real source of the illegal drugs. Police Master Sergeant Rodolfo Maya Jr., who owned the lending office where the almost 1 ton of Shabu was confiscated, refused to divulge significant information throughout the proceedings. Dela Rosa says he received an information that the alleged Shabu King, alias Mike C., wants to testify before the committee, but his so-called handler told him not to do so. Police Lieutenant Colonel Arnulfo Ibanez, who was the boss of Mayo and the contact of alias Mike C., denies that he was the one who tipped off the alleged drug lord.
Si Mike C. daw ay gustong magsalita sa committee. Kasi gusto niya sigurong linisin yung kanya pagka number 1 na Shabu personality sa Pilipinas. Marami pa daw mas mabigat sa kanya. Pero inaamin niya na involved siya sa Shabu business. I will entertain him. Tinawagan daw ng handler niya. At ngayon, hindi na makontak.
The lawmaker says he is willing to reopen his panel's investigation should the alleged Shabu King surface. Meanwhile, Dela Rosa believes former Philippine National Police or PNP Chief Rodolfo Azurin Jr. is off the hook from the controversy. This was after former PNP Drug Enforcement Group Chief Police Brigadier General Narciso Domingo revealed that they did not include Mayo in the initial report for a follow-up operation that led to the 6.7 billion peso Shabu raid.
Pero bago ako umalis ay kinausap ko ulit sila Colonel Ulunan at Colonel Ibanez na okay na kay dating Chief PNP ang follow-up operations na gagawin. Sinabihan ko rin ang ground commander ko, Police Lieutenant Colonel Ulunan, take charge. 9:32 p.m. tumawag ang dating Chief PNP at nagtos na i-cancel na ang follow-up operation at i-secure si Mayo dahil baka maglinis raw ng dumi si Police Lieutenant Colonel Ibanez at patayin si Mayo.
On the part naman sa attempted cover-up na yun, Chief PNP was cleared. Inamin ni Domingo na yung spot report niya kay Chief PNP na hindi kasama si Mayo was ang purpose doon daw para mag-follow-up operation sila.
Dela Rosa, who is a former top cop, says he is leaving the investigation up to the PNP and the National Police Commission to dig deeper and solve the issue. Harleen Delgado, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
The Philippine National Police warns PNP personnel against illegal gambling. PNP Directorate for Operations Director Police Brigadier General Leo Francisco stated that they will implement a one-strike policy where police commanders on the ground who fail to take action against illegal gambling will be immediately relieved from their posts. General Francisco added that this includes video carrera, bookies, wetting, and other types of gambling.
So the policy of the national headquarters is for those commanders who are not doing their job in the local level tuloy-tuloy itong mga ganitong klaseng illegal gambling, and if it is validated by our intelligence operatives, and appropriate police action had been done by the regional or national level, immediately the commanders or the local commanders will be relieved.
The PNP's latest directive came after the PNP and the Philippine Charity Sweepstakes Office, or PCSO, forged an alliance to intensify the national campaign against all forms of illegal gambling. High-caliber weapons from communist groups were surrendered to the National Capital Region Police Office. This happened after 44 former communist members pledged their allegiance to the government. Bernadette Tinoy will tell us why.
National Capital Region Police Office, or NCRPO, announced that 44 former communist members surrendered and pledged their allegiance to the government.
Tama po ang desisyon na ginawa ninyo. Tama sapagkat ngayon kayo po'y magkakaroon ng pagkakataon mamuhay ng tahimik, mapayapa.
NCRPO reports that 27 of those were from Communist Front organizations and 17 were from communist terrorist groups. High-caliber weapons were also surrendered by the former rebels voluntarily. According to Police Major General Edgar Alan Akubo and Regional Director of NCRPO, those who surrendered have options to stay in Metro Manila or in their respective provinces.
Yung mga galing po sa Mindanao o Batangas, kung gusto nilang manirahan na sa Manila, ay tutulungan namin. Kung sila po ay magdesisyon na bumalik sa kanilang mga lalawigan, probinsya o rehiyon, hingi rin po kami ng tulong sa Joint Task Force NCR para sila ay mai-endorse doon sa mga Army Divisions na nakakasakop sa kanilang mga probinsya.
San Juan City Mayor and Chairman of Regional Peace and Order Council, or RPOC, Francis Zamora, reiterates that the event aims to encourage more communist members to surrender.
Pag makita nila na mas maganda nga ang buhay kapag nagbalik loob na sa gobyerno, ay yung mga dati lang kasama ay maaring sumunod na rin.
Meanwhile, the Department of Social Welfare and Development, or DSWD, distributed groceries and financial assistance to former communists. The 44 individuals will also undergo assessment, medical evaluation, livelihood training, and seminars under the Enhanced Comprehensive Local Integration Programs, or ECLIP. Bernadette Tinoy, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
With the prohibition of television sets in police stations, the National Capital Region Police Office, or NCRPO, announced that the use of cell phones while on duty is also prohibited for police officers. This is to ensure that police officers remain focused on observing their designated areas. NCRPO Regional Director, Police Major General Edgar Alan Okubo, said they utilize unified radios to inform police officers of any personal emergency calls that are specifically for them.
Ang gagamit ng cellphone during office hours, particularly doon sa mga mobile and foot patrollers natin at sa mga beat patrols natin, yung tuloy-tuloy na paggamit ng cellphone while on duty ay nakakaapekto sa ating security. At the same time, baka ayaw nating paabala at dahil nga nagse-cellphone tayo, hindi natin pinapakinggan na meron palang nagre-request ng police assistance.
Meanwhile, the Department of Foreign Affairs clarified that they see no correlation between the incident involving 11 Filipino cyclists left injured in Kuwait and the visa and deployment ban issue on the PH Kuwaiti government. Janice Inhente will tell us why.
The Philippine Embassy has not found any evidence linking the accident involving a sports utility vehicle and 11 Filipino cyclists in Kuwait to the ongoing entry visa ban imposed by Kuwait on new Filipino workers. DFA Undersecretary Eduardo De Vega stated that road accidents involving bicycles in Kuwait have been frequent over the years. He also noted that the incident on May 26, which left 11 Filipinos injured, was not a hate crime.
Gusto ko lang paliwanag na so far ang sinasabi walang ebidensya na may relasyon to sa ating current problems sa labor deployment sa Kuwait. Matagal na nagkakaproblema sa Kuwait tungkol sa accidents involving cyclists. Kasi hindi malinaw doon yung rules sa cyclists kasi walang bike lanes doon. Ang pinipilit pa ng Ministry of Interior, kailangan humingi ng permit bago mag-bike. Lalo na ito, marami sila 50 sila nagbabike, no? Leisurely biking ng madaling araw, no? Nung last week pa to, no? May 26. Walang indication na hate crime to kasi merong ang tradition yung mga sa Kuwait na yung ibang drivers ayaw talaga sa cyclists. Kaya iniisip nila na this will lead to more calls from cyclists na kailangan bigyan ng better protection ng mga cyclists.
Last Saturday, the driver of the SUV who plowed into a group of Filipino bikers in Kuwait surrendered to the authorities, and an investigation into the incident is currently underway. De Vega mentioned that the Philippine Embassy is prepared to assist the Filipinos involved in the accident in filing a case against the suspect.
Depende po yan sa gagawin ng Kuwait. Kung kakasuhan yan, hihingi tayo ng tinatawag na damages o daños perjuicios sa driver, no? Kunyari mawalan ng livelihood, hindi na makatrabaho dito mga Pilipino, dapat mananagot siya doon. Iniimbestigahan nila yung kaso, tinitignan nila yung ebidensya, pati yung statements ng mga cyclists natin, titignan kung sapat na to para kasuhan ng felony, ng crime, no? At hindi lang traffic charge yung driver.
The DFA reported that 2 out of the 11 injured Filipinos are still in the hospital but are not in critical condition. The Philippine government assures that it will provide assistance to the victims and their families during their recovery from their injuries. Janice Enhente, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
In other news, Oriental Mindoro is now seeing hope that the oil spill problem that has been affecting many residents for nearly 3 months will finally be resolved. This comes after a siphoning machine from Singapore has arrived to suck up the remaining oil from the sunken MT Princess Empress. Alan Manansala will tell us why.
After 3 months, the people of Oriental Mindoro have seen a ray of hope that their oil spill problem will finally be resolved with the arrival of the siphoning machine tasked to remove the remaining oil from the sunken MT Princess Empress. The Dynamic Support Vessel, or DSV, that arrived yesterday is a chartered vessel of Malayan Towage and Salvage Corporation employed by the Protection and Indemnity Insurance Club. It sailed from Singapore on May 19, 2023 and arrived at the Subic Bay Freeport Zone on May 26, 2023 before heading directly to the waters of Oriental Mindoro. According to Vincent Gahol, the head of the Provincial Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Office of Oriental Mindoro, of the almost 800,000 liters of oil, DSB Opal is expected to absorb 120,000 to 240,000 liters. It may take 20 to 30 days to recover all of the remaining industrial oil depending on weather conditions and the subsea progress.
Ang isa ay ditong mga masamang panahon kasi pag malakas yung dagat ay di makakagambala sa trabaho nito. Yun lang naman yung possible na makahamper dito.
With the arrival of DSB Opal, the people of Oriental Mindoro are hopeful that this will be the final solution the authorities need to ultimately resolve their enormous problem. Alan Manansala, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
United States President Joe Biden and Republican House Speaker Representative Kevin McCarthy have finally reached an agreement to remove the potential federal default off the table. A bipartisan agreement had sealed the deal, and lawmakers are expected to vote in this week. Paul Gatchalian will tell us why.
United States President Joe Biden and top congressional Republican Kevin McCarthy have finally agreed on a deal to suspend the nation's debt ceiling to $31.4 trillion. Suspending the cap to $31.4 trillion would allow the government to borrow as much money as it needs until a few months after January 2025, which is the borrowing limit period according to full legislative text agreed upon by both parties. The agreement, which raised the country's debt ceiling, came with compromises that neither the hard right nor the far left is likely to support. Instead, officials are working quickly to gather support from the political middle before the debt ceiling deadline on June 5, as President Biden strongly urges the United States House and the Senate to pass the agreement.
And the agreement also represents a compromise, which means no one got everything they want. But that's the responsibility of governing. This is a deal that's good news, I believe you'll see, for the American people. The agreement prevents the worst possible crisis, a default for the first time in our nation's history. An economic recession, retirement accounts devastated, millions of jobs lost. The Speaker and I made it clear from the start that the only way forward was a bipartisan agreement. That agreement now goes to the United States House and to the Senate. I strongly urge both chambers to pass that agreement.
Other important components of the deal involve additional work requirements for food stamps and cut to IRS funding while protecting Social Security, Medicare, and veterans. However, some changes would affect the National Environmental Policy Act and would halt some funds to hire new Internal Revenue Service agents, as Republicans have demanded. Meanwhile, the new Democratic coalition has given a crucial nod of support to the bipartisan deal. Paul Gatchalian, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
In other news, the eastern Canadian city of Halifax declared a state of local emergency late yesterday after out-of-control wildfires burned more than 25,000 acres, causing smoke to tower over the region. According to Halifax Mayor Mike Savage, around 18,000 people were forced to evacuate their homes. Residents will be allowed to return when advised by municipal authorities, and the state of emergency will be in effect for 7 days, unless lifted or extended. In a press statement, Halifax Regional Fire and Emergency Deputy Chief Dave Meldrum said about 100 firefighters battled the blaze overnight, and emergency crews still have a lot of work in the coming days. Meldrum also stated that the cause of fires was still being investigated and no injuries or deaths have been reported so far. In a tweet last night, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau called the wildfire situation in Nova Scotia province, where Halifax is located, incredibly serious, and assured government assistance were required. While Nova Scotia Premier Tim Houston stated every household ordered to evacuate will receive $500 from the Canadian Red Cross to help urgent needs such as food and personal care items. Those are the reasons behind the news in other parts of the globe. I am Kathy Navarro, reporting live from Vietnam. Good evening.
The Department of Energy, or DOE, has announced that the government has achieved a cumulative electricity savings of 20 million kilowatt hours through the implementation of the Government Energy Management Program, or GEMP. This amounts to 205 million pesos for the first quarter of 2023, which is higher than the 5 million kilowatt hour savings prior to the program's implementation. GEMP's objective is to reduce the government's overall electricity and fuel consumption by 10% as mandated by Republic Act number 11285, also known as the Energy Efficiency and Conservation Act. Through the Department of Tourism's Hop-On, Hop-Off tourism project, travel to the tourist attractions in Metro Manila would be hassle-free. Gladys Tuwabi will tell us why.
Who wouldn't love to travel with no hassle while exploring and touring the rich heritage and tourist attractions of Metro Manila? Whether you are in a group or a solo traveler, the Department of Tourism's Philippines Hop-On, Hop-Off tourist buses will surely be of help. By downloading its mobile application, you can enjoy convenient travel from one place to another, visiting Metro Manila's tourist attractions such as museums, heritage sites, food havens, and much more.
It's a very easy way to go around, get yourself familiarized with the attractions, parang get your bearing of the place. Kasi syempre, pag unang salta mo sa isang lugar, nakakalito. Ano ba yung dapat kong puntahan? Ano ba yung dapat kong makita bilang isang turista? And this will offer you the best of everything for Manila, Makati, and all the cities of NCR.
This booking system has a fee of 1,000 pesos per person. The project was initially launched in Makati City and will be followed by Manila City.
Sa ating mga taga Manila, nasanay na sa Manila, okay lang yan. Pero yung mga taga Mindanao, taga North, taga Visayas, pag pumunta ng unang salta sa Manila, syempre nakakalito. So this is perfect for them. Para easy, do it yourself, at very enjoyable na pag-ikot sa ating metro.
Starting in June, the buses will be fully operational in these two cities. The Department of Tourism also plans to launch the HoHo buses in San Juan, Pasig, Pasay, Parañaque, Taguig, Quezon City, and eventually expand to cover the entire Metro Manila this year. Gladys Tuwabi, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
Our kasangbahay, as the world faces these trying times amid the pandemic caused by coronavirus, we are inviting everyone to join the global prayer for humanity.
Good day. I'm Brother Eli Soriano of the members of the Church of God International. I want to invite you to join us in a minute of prayer every day to pray for humanity and the whole world as we go through these perilous times. While safety measures like washing of hands and strengthening of our immune systems may help us through this horrible predicament, there is still no precaution or cure more powerful than God's mighty intervention. And we need His intervention now more than ever. It doesn't matter what religion you are in or what denomination you belong. This is an invitation for all the people around the world who cares for the future of their family, friends, loved ones, and humanity as a whole. Everybody is welcome to pray with us. For more details, you can check out the description box below. Thank you very much, and I hope to hear from you soon. May God bless you.
And before we close, we will leave you with a word, giving glory to God from the book of 1 Peter, chapter 1, verse 24 to 25. It says, "For all flesh is as grass, and all the glory of man as the flower of grass. The grass withers, and the flower of it falls away. But the word of the Lord endures forever, and this is the word which by the gospel is preached unto you." And those are the reasons behind the news, May 30, 2023, reasons we deliver to you as they unfold. And because we need to know, we will always ask why. I am William Theo. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
Nakita naman po natin na medyo papalayo na po siya, si Typhoon Betty. Siguro as per assessment lang, hindi na po muna kailangan ng forced evacuation po.
Opo, yan po ang magandang balita po natin dahil wala po tayong reported casualties either sa mga namatay po or injured or mga nawawala po, no?
Kasi alam mo, binabalansin namin Meron kasi tayong tinatawag na fiscal program na hanggang 2028. And right now, maraming demands on the spending side. No? So, kung mamimigay ka ng mga incentives, mawawala ka ng collection. So, we are studying it. It's not a perfect system, so we'll look for improvements. But right now, our revenue system is doing well.
Si Mike Sid daw ay gustong magsalita sa komite kasi gusto niya sigurong linisin yung kanya pagka number 1 na Shabu personality sa Pilipinas. Marami pa daw mas mabigat sa kanya. Pero inaamin niya na involved siya sa Shabu business. I will entertain him. Tinawagan daw ng handler niya at ngayon hindi na makontak.
Gusto ko lang paliwanag na so far ang sinasabi walang ebidensya na may relasyon to sa ating current problems sa labor deployment sa Kuwait. Matagal na nagkakaproblema sa Kuwait tungkol sa accidents involving cyclists. Kasi hindi malinaw doon yung rules sa cyclists kasi walang bike lanes doon. Ang pinipilit pa ng Ministry of Interior, kailangan humingi ng permit bago mag-bike. Lalo na ito, marami sila, 50 sila nagbabike, no? Leisurely biking ng madaling araw, no? Nung last week pa to, no? May 26.